My name is Sandi Wright. Welcome to my backyard in St. Louis, Missouri. We're going to talk about body language, and we're going to talk about it in ways that relate to what you do on stage as well as when you're presenting to your office or to your board of directors. You need to have the right body language. It's something that has changed my life, and I know it's going to impact your world as well. There are lots of different ways that we can express our body language through the eyes, the chin, the head, the mouth, arms, shoulders, feet and stance, and then our gestures, our wrists and our hands. So we use whole body expression when we're singing and when we're talking and giving a presentation. So let's talk about the eyes first. A very narrow eye can make it be a lot more sincere. A wide eyed is more innocent and vulnerable. The chin can be high and more aloof, or it can be more level, like a level head, or it can drop for a more nurturing presentation. The head is great because the head can look straight ahead. The head can be tilted slightly, and if the head is tilted slightly and the chin comes down, it's a very nurturing look and it creates a very nurturing illusion. The mouth, the mouth can be wide and expressive and relaxed, or it can be the lips can be very tight and very purposeful, and we use that for different feelings. A relaxed mouth that goes up is a happy face. A mouth that is sad and or that goes very horizontal is more sincere when you're delivering something that is really important and that you really want the audience or your job people to know. The arms are so neat because they can be away from the body, they can express so much emotion, and yet so often we see on stage arms that just kind of come up like this, especially if you're packed solid on the risers. And we don't really talk like that. That's kind of T-Rex arms, like like Barney. And we don't want Barney arms, we want expressive arms. And so what we want to do is get those elbows up and away from our body so that it's a big, open, wide look. Shoulders can be one of the most expressive parts of our body. It's very sensual if you bring your shoulders up. And then of course the elbows do come in. And then if you want your shoulders back, it says something entirely different, like pride or even anger. So we have to be aware that our shoulders carry a great deal of emotion. The feet, the stance, I usually start um, with the feet because when we're on stage and we are in front of an audience of people, we get nervous or anxious. And when we get nervous and anxious, those feet, those ankles, that everything comes together. We go into true fight or flight. But look at what happens when we do that. Our shoulders are out of balance. Our center is off. Shoulders come forward. Arms come forward. Head goes down. So we get into this very unconfident illusion, and it's almost like we want to protect ourselves. In fact, men who are nervous go into a fig leaf position. Women who are extremely nervous will begin um, to protect their vital organs. We protect that which we don't want to have injured. And so when we go into this fear, we tend to bring everything in very close. On the opposite way, if we want a power gesture, and sometimes we do, not for very long, but that's when we take an over wide gesture. The toes point out. It also creates an arch in our back. Our knees, it's very difficult for our knees to stay flexible. Our arms can do nothing, like they can't really go in, so they go out, and or they go on your hips. And this can be a powerful gesture for just a little while. Oh, and I will note too that the chin goes up. When that chin goes up, It's aloof. It's you're looking down your nose at the audience, and it doesn't matter whether you're singing a love song or a tender ballad. If your chin is too high, the audience isn't going to believe you because you're sending a mixed message. Just remember that power gestures and too wide apart feet will send a mixed message to the audience. So we all know how to stand correctly. We've had this drill thousands of times. Feet under the hips or under the shoulders, and just relaxed. Your knees need to be flexed. That puts you in the right vocal stance and the right body stance to actually be able to have good vocal production. But it also allows freedom for your arms to move about and not get in the way. And it also, by the way, creates an illusion of confidence, and that's what we want. Now, if you really want to experiment a little bit, you want to let your audience into you and not close them off, which happens when arms and hands go across your body. We've now created a barrier. Um, and if you are looking above your audience or to that exit sign in the back, look at how aloof this looks. And just by dropping the chin and making more focused eye contact on a closer in part of the audience, whether you can actually see them or not, it creates an illusion of confidence. And that's what we want on stage, is for people to believe what you say and to carry them along in your lyric so that it makes sense, and they can cry with you and they can laugh with you and they can tap their toes with your rhythms. Also, let's talk about gestures and hands and wrists. We use a lot of gestures. Unfortunately, a lot of the gestures we use are tied to our phrase plan. Um, uh, Time after time, I tell myself, okay, well, that just says nothing, because what we're doing is we're just lifting the end of the phrase, and you're keeping pardon me, you're keeping us in the phrase plan. And what we need to do is just get beyond that. We need to get beyond the phrase plan. So allow your gestures to only come in when it's really something important that you want to get across to the audience. The thumb. The thumb is your strongest digit. And so what we want to do is use your thumb for effect. Use your thumb for accenting and not necessarily alone. It says power. And so we don't want a lot of thumb in our gestures unless it's a powerful move. And then we incorporate the rest of the hand. Your pointer. Uh, your pointer is an accusatory finger, and we don't want the audience to feel intimidated or in any way threatened by you on stage. So when you bring that hand up and you point to somebody, that's very intimidating. And it's even more powerful if you engage the thumb in that, because that really makes it powerful. And sometimes you want that kind of a move, but most often it would be accompanied by other things. If you brought your hand up like that and then tilted your head slightly, that says a lot, and the audience will get your feeling. But it's, again, they're cluster moves. We don't just do one thing and not anything else. So use your pointer finger sparingly, because we don't want to be lectured to on stage. Your tactile fingers are your two middle fingers. You don't dust off the old piano with your pointer finger. Nobody does that unless you're writing your name in the dust. What you do is you take your feeling fingers and you dust your piano with that, and then you brush it off. That's what real is, and that's the honest emotion that goes with anything that is feeling. And so if you're expressing love, you might use those tactile fingers in an upward position, whether it's moving your hands up or whether it's bringing the audience back down to something that really touches your heart. And so using your two middle fingers says emotion. Delicacy is expressed by your baby finger, your little pinky. And so that adds delicacy to whatever you're going to do. So if you were going to be accusatory and you wanted to add some a little less intensity to it, you could engage your pinky at that point. And it also expresses ethereal, or when you're speaking to the universe, and you might want to do something like that to express ethereal, and then use your thumb, almost the same movement, but to express power. So ethereal, power, and you want to be able to use those in the right places. The hands are very expressive as well. A, a, a hand that comes up like this has more delicacy than a hand that comes up like this. This can be begging, it can be caring, it can be wanting. And so when we're trying to express that want, and then we engage the center two fingers, your tactile fingers, and you bring the audience back with you in a very emotional place, it says a lot. And you can always incorporate that kind of thing in your gestures. Limp wrists are more fun, they're more playful. Uh, Stiff wrists are more powerful. So let's talk a little bit about when we want to express certain emotions, because it's all body cluster moves. It's not just one thing. The whole body, you've heard that. Engage more of your whole body in your movement. Well, let me show you what it means. Okay, so a vulnerable or innocent song. Vulnerable and innocent feet are a little bit more together. Your eyes are wider and moister, softer. Everything is soft and vulnerable. It's an upward, but still the shoulders are coming in just a little bit, as if the somebody help me. Things are together. You're not wide. So that says innocence. So something like, "Papa, can you hear me?" That would be an innocent thing. On my own, pretending he's beside me. Those kinds of things are more innocent. Now, power and pride are just the opposite. That's an overwide stance. That's a powerful move. Your shoulders are back. You're proud. Good patriotic songs usually have a lot of pride in them. And powerful songs can be also in this position where you are empowered. You're an empowered woman, and so that kind of shoulder back, wide stance, outward movement, elbows out can be really effective there. Elbows out in the most out place is right here. So, you want to almost create a hand on a hip, even though you don't have to. However, let me show you the difference between pride and maybe you're wanting to be alluring or sexy. Pride is chin up, body stance is wide, feet are apart, the shoulders are out. Sexy, just drop the chin and narrow your eyes even more. So it's the difference between pride and sexy. It's nothing more than just a chin, a head drop. And yet we see this a lot. Now this, I'm sorry, but this is not sexy. This is, I'm closing myself off from you. I'm covering all my parts so you can't see them. And I honestly don't want to have anything to do with you. And even your chest is aiming towards the wings. And so that isn't sexy, girls. It's not. If you look at alluring performers like, oh heck, I knew I wouldn't remember any of them. Celine Dion is good at it, where you just kind of drop your chin a little bit. It's so effective. Now we sing a lot of love songs, a lot of love songs, and yet that dewy eye, that moist eye, that chin that might move, the head that might go, the arms that could be, it could be either close as if you want to give yourself a hug with your shoulders up, or whether you want to expand and just show more joyful love. That again, again, it's a freedom of your movement. You want to express something, it's not closed off. Fear and sadness, however, fear and sadness is more closed off. When you're in fear, you're just fidgety. Everything. I mean, if you want to look at a good fearful performance, look at The Man That Got Away by Judy Garland. She's just nervous, and it's uncomfortable for the audience to see somebody in fear. You just want to go up and hug them and say everything's going to be all right. Sadness is a lot like that. If you're in the wee small hours of the morning and the whole wide world has is asleep, your whole body is down, your shoulders are down, you're kind of almost caving in, and your knees are flexed, and you're almost ready to go into a crouched fear position, anguish position, almost fetal position. And so just remember that when we're singing in the wee small hours of the morning, it's not a sincere performance. If you're looking with a level head to the audience, it's in the wee small hours of the morning. And there's cluster moves again. Anger, we sing angry songs sometimes, not so much as what we used to do, but anger is, again, the lips are thin. You're ready to go at them. You might come towards the person a little bit, almost a fists-ready position, like you could just be ready to punch them out. And yet, there's a staccato to the cadence of the songs usually that will lead the way. How can you believe me when I said? See how that chin is going out, and there's a lot of staccato and pulse and power in the song that you're singing. Anguish and loss, we don't go there very much. It's more reserved for the stage, but the fear face or the anguish face is a smile that's down. And in other words, the eyebrows are down, the eyes are narrow. It's almost like you're going to wail, like you're going to cry. And again, you want to cover up all your parts to protect yourself from the anguish that you're going through. And that's kind of hard to watch for an audience. So not too many of our performers choose to go there, although it can be quite effective if it's done with some convincing movement. Joy is something we do a lot. Joyful moves are out, they're open, they're free. Pick up your feet. They're not nailed to the floor. You might move around a little bit more from the hip. There might be more leg movement. It's all open. It's all to the universe. It's all in a happy spot. Joy isn't yay. Joy is yay. And so what we want to do when we're singing a joyful song is to have that sparkle in our eyes. And it can vary. It can be to the side a little bit, like a flirty eye, or it can be straight on, like a love eye. And so we want that whole cluster move to be actually moving, and there's not much that's stagnant when you're joyful. Then my last point would be to think ahead. Good performers are always thinking ahead to the next line. And if you really know your song and you really know what's happening and you know what's coming up next, you don't just look in one spot. You look in many spots. For example, in the song Time After Time, there's a lot of opportunities because that song has complex emotions in it. And first of all, decide who your character is. And then when you start to look at that character through your own eyes, that you'll be able to see that there's a lot of mystery and convincing that you're doing to this person, to your person. Time after time, I tell myself that I'm. When you tell yourself something, you might look up. I tell myself that I'm so lucky to be loving you. When you go to the you, I would go right to the audience. And this, because it unfolds and because there's layers here, so lucky to be, that's very joyful. The one you run to see in the evening when the day is through. You know, I only know that it's so. There's love in that. So use your cluster moves, use your body, use your whole body. It's so expressive, and it can make the difference in points in the in audience contact, which is what you want. We all want to make connection with our audience. It's not about perfection, it's about connection. Hope to see you all soon in person, but I hope you've enjoyed it, and bye from Region 5.